well. This is a song for the genius child. Sing it softly, for the song is wild. Sing it softly as ever you can. Let the song get out of hand. Nobody loves a genius child. Can you love an eagle, tame or wild? Wild or tame? Can you love a monster of frightening name? Nobody loves a genius child. Free him and let his soul run wild.
A lot of work done here. So Larry's rented a studio for him in Venice, which he had for about a year and a half. And he made quite a lot of art in that studio.
I used to love watching him paint. He didn't mind. I could sit there and watch him paint. And it was just beautiful the way he painted them. He was just like, fast and elegant and...
There's a whole group of people out here that he felt really comfortable with.
I started just hanging out with him and filming him painting, and I probably filmed him over 2 or 3 years just hanging out in the studio painting with him. What Jean would do is he would go out at night and then he would come home and basically lock himself in for 2-3 days, just paint and paint and paint.
So do you have a specific method of working? Do you have certain hours that you always work? Do you?
I just have to. I'm usually in front of the television. I have to have some source material around me, to
Like
work
what?
off. I don't know, magazines, textbooks.
You don't mind having a lot of people around too while you're painting too.
I've discovered that I think I'd rather work alone more than anything. I used to have assistants a lot around me, and then on days when they wouldn't come, it would be a lot more productive.
He was going out a lot, and he was under a lot of pressure to paint because he owed paintings to his art collectors and his art dealers, and each painting that he did had to be a masterpiece because now he was being criticized in the international art world. I think it was getting harder and harder for him to go back and forth from being an adventurous 20-year-old to being a serious painter.
He told me that he was starting to use heroin at that point. He chose to use these drugs in order to concentrate. I prefer a cup of coffee myself, but...
And he wanted it to go to a New York museum. I said, okay, I'll donate it. We offered it to MoMA, and the Museum of Modern Art came back and said, well, he isn't worth the space. And then we tried the Whitney, and they rejected it also.
When you first see brand new work, chances are, if it's really significant, it will be uncomfortable to somebody like myself, because I am so immersed in what painting up until now looked like. And with Basquiat, many art professionals had skepticism about what he was doing because the paintings didn't necessarily fit their idea of a museum painting. And yet, of course, that's exactly what's necessary in order to create the art of the future.
How do you work? You just start with a blank canvas and just start painting?
I usually put a lot down in it, and then I take a lot away. Then I put some more down, and then I take some more away. So it's like a constant editing process usually.
What do people like in your work that you said?
There's something very direct about Jean-Michel's work that appeals to everyone. It doesn't just appeal to the intellectual, but it does appeal to the intellectual.
Appealed to a lot of people who didn't have a great knowledge of art history, but just looked at the work and liked it.
It wasn't school. It was never something calculated. That's not to say that he didn't look very closely at what he was doing, but I mean, it wasn't something that he was following some pattern. It was an instinct. He had an incredible instinct. Writing the word tar 5 times, crossing it out 4 times. He was really a once-in-a-generation talent. He had a way of making words pictorial, making them part of the picture.
Matt's eyes. I can see that he's channeling his inner child.
What's your earliest, most vivid childhood memory?
Probably getting hit by a car, I guess.
How did that happen?
I was playing in the street.
How old were you?
I was 7 or 8 years old.
And what were you thinking when it happened? Did you think this is it?
It seemed very dreamlike seeing the car. I mean, it was just like in the movies when they slow it down. When a car's coming at you, it was just like that.
That image haunts me, because there he was, New Year's Eve, all by himself at this bar, the most famous artist of his generation. That image haunts me, because there he was, New Year's Eve, all by himself at this bar, the most famous artist of his generation.